Hey everyone, welcome back to Locked In, where we give you your college football intel. We're going to turn our focus to another transfer wide receiver. In this case, we're going to be looking at Evan Stewart, who has over the offseason moved from Texas A&M to Oregon. And much like what we said about Colby Young, who's now who went from Miami to Georgia, Oregon's fixing to get them a receiver. I mean, I think that's all that we can say, about Mr. Evan Stewart. He's going to stand out, and I think that they're going to feed him the football. And I think that most likely, probably his production this year, my prediction is Texas A&M going to be wishing they'd done more with him. Because I think that there's a couple of things that really stand out, especially on his stats when you start looking at splits. But just overall, just to give you an idea of what we're dealing with, this past season he had 38 catches, 514 yards, 4 touchdowns, good for a 13.5 yard average. So he's a pretty good down the field threat. We're putting up a 13.5 yard average. Little thin, 175 pounds. He's 6 feet tall. So he's kind of one of those tweeners. I mean, he's not like the stereotypical small slot guy, but at the same time, you don't look at him and think, boy, he's an X receiver. So he's kind of a mid-range guy. But the thing that's interesting about him is that he's very much a downfield threat. He's not. I think that whenever you see his size, you might think that he'd be more of an underneath receiver, but he is not. And the guy is both. He's money on both first down and third down. So he's a possession receiver, and he can also stretch the field. So let's take a look at what he's done.
Yeah, so I mean, he didn't really do much last year. They didn't utilize him nearly enough, and I know he had some nagging injuries pretty much the whole year. So we're gonna go back 2 years ago against Alabama, when he was a freshman playing against an elite level of competition here, and just see what he can do against them. And you'll get right off the bat him getting this throw inside over the middle, and it does fall incomplete, but that's just one of those things. He's a freshman. Just look at the way he runs this route, though, the way he breaks this off right here. And then he gets that underneath where there's a lot of separation here. If you have a quarterback that can see this and see this man coverage here, you can throw that open or even just throw it off the break where it's there. And I think that Dylan Gabriel will be able to do that. It's just you have Haynes King, and Haynes King wasn't nearly as good 2 years ago as he is now at Georgia Tech. So I mean, ends up going off his hands, can't make the grab. Not much else to say about that freshman, but this is all his targets from this game. And this is the one that really stands out right here. This just downfield catch. And mainly his release is what I'd like to point out. Should show it again right here. Watch his release off this line. You're trying to create that separation for that downfield throw. And these are Alabama's DBs. Gets them
Mhm.
fully going outside with them and breaks it right up inside. And the ball's a little underthrown, but he still goes up and makes the catch. So I mean, that's an A+ performance right there on that play.
Look at those. The universal sign of what just happened.
Yeah, he said head, throw it on. And he caught it. So I mean,
And
I
another thing too that I like that I've this is just something that I've I guess learned about that the top level college receivers are doing a lot and are being taught to do now. If you watch him, yeah, he does a good job beating him, makes him think, yeah, he's going outside. Obviously, the cornerback, expected probably a more of an outside release to the fade, and as he has him beat, clearly he's going to signal, hey, here I am.
see, look at
But
that
what I like, and I mean,
separation.
yeah, and honestly, and I mean, also look at how fast this cornerback makes up. I mean, he does a good job. I mean, so he's beating a daggum good player. But when he touches him, the thing that I like is that instead of just letting the ball come to him, he throws his hands. And while that might not seem like much, what that does is it's going to, I mean, in addition into helping him get into the spot to make that catch, he leaps. It's also one of those things that whenever he comes up like this, High hands are going to get you pass interference calls if you don't get the ball. No, keeping them down, not going to do it. So I mean, I think that that's interesting. I mean, I'm interested really in watching how many college receivers are doing that, because I've been told that from a pretty inside source that this is one of the things that they're really looking to do. The especially, I mean, these, I mean, like what Oregon is, even what Texas A&M is, the spread down the field passing teams, they are more and more trying to incorporate pass interference as a part of their offense. I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, it's the automatic first down, 15 yards. So I mean, that's interesting, for me to see that. Like, I mean, he beats him. He knows that cornerback's going to be catching up to him, puts himself in position to catch the ball, and he also puts the cornerback in a pretty bad position to try to defend him. There's a lot that can go wrong for that cornerback right there, and even more that can go right, for the receiver. So, as a freshman against a top-notch guy,
I'll say that's Terrion Arnold. Like
I
this
like
this
what you
guy's
said. Yeah,
going
yeah, he's
high in the
good.
draft this year. And I mean, look at the way when he reels it in, he turns his body away from Arnold right there to reel in the possession at the end there. So I mean, just it's the small details that you like to see, and that's him as a freshman. So
And
lots to look forward to.
one of the things too that I think is interesting, even like, I mean, and we don't necessarily have to go back to it, but that's what I was thinking about that very first play. Whenever he got that separation, like, yeah, he didn't catch the ball, but if you look at what he did, like his step when he went to break, and instead of going up and breaking off, like, I mean, like what you would think, like, the crisp break where you plant the outside foot, break back with the inside, he was already curved that
Yeah, I would
inside
say he
foot.
kind of curves
And
it.
and what that did, is by going ahead and stomping down, that 45 stand or 45 step, instead of, sticking the outside and then cutting like what you were traditionally, teaching people to do and have been taught to do. Uh, it creates so much separation. But like what you said, the problem is you didn't have a quarterback who at the moment um, could take advantage of that. And so, I mean, he's a top notch receiver, and we can't really fault him for not getting the right kind of ball thrown to him. I mean, I'm sure King could do it now because, I mean, he showed out at Georgia Tech, but right there, you got a receiver who is way ahead in terms of development of where his quarterback's at. And so, that's the thing, is whenever you're that developed at this early stage against this kind of talent, there's a lot to work with right there.
Yeah. Moving on, he takes a slow approach on this break going inside, short route to let his quarterback get the drop. And I mean, it's hands on, man's on, same type of coverage again from Terry and Arnold and the defense here. And I mean, that's not too open and it's thrown behind them. So I mean, not a great ball at all. Still able to make the catch. And that's hard to make that catch. I mean, it really is going back behind you, making a catch that low with Terry and Arnold draped on you. Because I mean, that might as well be pass interference right there. I mean,
And I think
he's
you
tackling.
have to know that I mean, whenever that ball comes in that way, that he's fixing to ride your head, and he's unfazed by that. As a freshman, comes up with this catch, and and at this point, they've been playing, for a minute, and and he's got one or two in, on Arnold. So he's not going to let this guy, mess around with him anymore. So he's going to get rough with him. He's like, okay, you want to get rough, get rough. Catches the ball once
Yeah,
again, bear trapping that sucker, turning his body away from him. I mean, he knows what he's doing.
yeah, it's exactly what you take away from this. And they go to him here on third down, ends up a little short, but
Yeah,
bad ball. I mean,
yeah, it's a terrible pass.
he's wide open though across the middle. You give him that ball out in front and a little
Hmm.
like right here and on
Yeah,
target like in his chest, and that's a first down. So I mean, they're
definitely.
obviously like the way you look at this guy's stats and his splits. They're going to him on third down. He's a big catch guy, possession guy. So he's going to get you that catch, and he'll get you the catch, but if you want him to extend the play, put the ball where it needs to be. And I just Haynes King just wasn't able to do that at Texas A&M. It's kind of why he transferred, but with Dylan Gabriel, I have higher hopes for that this coming up year
I
with
think you're
Evan
right.
Stewart. Yeah, because great catch, great catch. It's just not place where it needs to be to get that first down.
I mean, the thing that you can say too is it's like, he was in the spot to get it, but it just wasn't able to work out for him. But the thing that he did do is by making that catch where he was at. I mean, he was in the right spot, but by making it where he was at, even though the quarterback didn't get him there, he still had you close enough that if you had to make a gutsy call and go for it on 4th and 1 right there,
Yeah,
you
you could
still
get
could
it.
have done it. You could
Yeah.
have quarterback sneaked that thing and probably picked up a first down. If you needed to.
Yeah. And one thing I like about here is him just settling underneath.
Yeah.
So we see that a lot in these little split out receivers these days, just settling into space. So we saw it a lot with Travis Hunter, just very good at settling, and then
Mhm.
turns around to fight for 2 extra yards on 2nd and 15 to make that third and manageable. And that's really appreciative in an offense to make it third and manageable. And you know what they do on that third and manageable? They throw it to him again, but you know it's not really in favor because I mean he has Kool-Aid and McKinstry beat man on, I mean flat out beat. You throw him the ball and what happens? Bad throw again behind him. So
Yeah.
he's having to slow down his momentum on 3rd and 6. But you throw it ahead where the ball needs to be to get that first down, and I guarantee you he picks that up. He's so fast. So I mean,
And that's one
yeah,
of the
go
things
ahead.
I think that you're right on that is that by throwing that plat, because I mean, a lot of times, I think you always hear John Madden make that claim that, why in the world, whenever you need a certain amount of yards, would you not throw the ball past that? But I think that what you see in it, and I understand, and I think that, he probably is right. But I think that what you see in this is that they trust him to pick that up. Like they've seen him do it. And the only thing that they don't have right there is the quarterback who is able to lead him in the way that he needs to be led. And it's not just that they say, hey, Evan can do this. It's that Evan can do this against all America cornerbacks. And we don't give a dang. We're going to throw it to him, on a crossing route, on 3rd and 6. And we think he can get this. It's up to you, quarterback, to get that ball in his hands in the right spot. And that's what's not happening. And so it's easy to say, well, why are you showing these crappy plays? Well, they're not crappy plays, at least not on his part. I mean, it's weak on the quarterback, but the wide receiver's where he needs to be.
Yeah, I'll say he's getting his separation. He's doing the little things. He's still making the catches. It's just he's not getting any help with it.
Yeah.
I mean, he can do it anywhere. I mean, he them possession catches is his thing. I mean, in between two defenders, settling down in space, making a good catch. I mean, that's what he's best at. Just big catches for possession. And that's one of the things I'd like to see in Oregon. Um, because I mean, even there again, bad ball thrown behind him, thrown low. He's having to slide on the ground to get it. So I mean, it's not like this guy can't catch football. I mean, that's very easy for him. Look at this separation. Said there's nobody that can touch him right here. Nobody around him. It's just bad ball thrown behind him where he's having to literally stop his momentum, shift his body backwards, and sliding down because the ball's thrown so far behind him.
Yeah.
It's not of his own fault, but still getting that separation, the things you like to see out of it, which shows his potential. And I mean, this last one is a great one to
Good
throw
Lord.
throw in for the last one to end it on. You see him break inside like he did earlier on that vertical route, and he has the corner beat. But you know what? I don't think Haynes King saw it because this time when he has the corner beat, there's a safety over top, and I mean he just says, "Screw it." I got Evan Stewart down there. Let him go make a play. And what does he do?
Makes a play.
Yeah, he mosses Terry Arnold and comes down with the ball. And that's as a freshman. So you might say, well, this is 2 years ago. He's going to be different. Well, I'd hope he'd be better, uh, because this just shows his potential, and his potential, his ceiling is way higher than a lot of these guys. And this guy could truly be a first round pick if uh, Dan Lanning throws him in the offense with Dylan Gabriel and gives him 1,000 yards easily. So I mean, I think this guy is something that you can look forward to in Oregon this coming up year.
when you see that, it's like you said about, the quarterback, just immediately whenever you see that the corner makes his drop almost half-heartedly, and you're like, yeah, they're fixing to bracket this guy. And I think you got to feel pretty good about yourself, if you're the freshman who, at the beginning of the game, they're like, yeah, whatever, we got Arnold on you, it's gonna be okay. And then by the end of the game, they're double covering. I mean, that's got to make you feel pretty good, and I think that says something about the potential that he has. And I mean, he delivered. I mean, he had a good year last year. He just wasn't treated like a number one receiver. And like like we said, he did miss some time, so I mean that hurt him. I mean, he still put up some really respectable numbers. But I think he's the kind of guy that he could really blow up next year for Oregon, and and he might be a one and done guy there. Maybe going to the draft next year because he's definitely got the talent to make it. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens up there. I think Dan Lanning's doing things right. And I think the fact that that he didn't really seem to even sniff at that Georgia job suggests that he knows he's doing things right out there. Um, that's gonna be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, and I look to see him, have a big game against Michigan this year since they lost Keon Sabb to the transfer portal, and then news broke today about Rod Moore tearing his ACL. So they're down to
That's
they're
tough.
down to safety number 3 over top. So I mean, with his speed, you could see a lot of excitement going on in the Big Ten this year with Oregon making a push to win it all. Battling Ohio State mainly. That's going to be the big one with Caleb Downs. So I mean, lot to look forward to if you're an Oregon fan. I know we've done a few videos on Oregon, but we'll keep updating you after spring most likely. But for us here, stay locked
Yeah.
in, everyone. What?
No, I was gonna say, one of the things though about that Michigan game is regardless of who they have and who they ain't got, watching this guy go up against Will Johnson because that's what the matchup is going to be. That's going to be that's going to be something to see. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, put them man on, hands on, and we'll
Yeah,
see.
just let them have at it, man.
Because I mean,
Just
that my
see who
thing
can do
is,
it.
you put him on Will Johnson. I know we've covered Will Johnson, and his one thing is when he gets his back turned, Will Johnson ain't too hot in coverage in man. So I mean, if he's in man coverage with Evan Stewart and he gets that step on him and he breaks inside, and he'll have a good quarterback in Dylan Gabriel. You put it out there, and I think he burns Will Johnson a few times.
It's going to be something to
Yeah,
see. It's
it'll
going to be a
it'll
matchup.
it'll be a good battle. But for us here, stay locked in, everyone.